Hello, everybody, and welcome to the new redesigned Game of Thrones AI Deathmatch free-for-all. This is actually a redesign of the previous series that I had running approximately a month or two ago. Unfortunately, for those of you guys who've been watching my video blogs, I had kind of gotten into it a little bit. The save was corrupted, which means that I've tried so hard to salvage that save game. I've done basically everything short of modifying the actual mod files themselves to try to get it to work, but basically I've gotten a like a .exe error every time I try to load that game. I've even disabled some of the mods. I found out it was because it was the map. The map was corrupted, so I've gone ahead and redesigned, I guess, the map to a certain extent. Again, sorry for the delay, but this is a new map for Westeros, as you guys can see. There's no longer any Essos islands over here, you know, like Pentos and all that. It's just Westeros, and basically some of the civilizations have changed. So this is more than likely not going to be part 3. This is going to be kind of like a redesigned series, and I am going to be uploading these regularly. So do not worry. I know a lot of you guys who have kind of liked this series previously were a bit disappointed that, you know, there were no updates for it for about 2 months. No worries, guys. These will be out very regularly until it's completed. So before we begin, let's go ahead and talk about the changes, I guess, starting from the very top. So in the north, no longer do we have, I guess, the White Walkers. The White Walkers were not compatible with this map. What I mean by that is that they didn't have a true start location. And even if they did, I had to actually manually place all of these civilizations and city-states anyways. So the White Walkers are out, and they were kind of overpowered anyways, so no worries. But we do have Mance Rayder, the King Beyond the Wall. There he is, which is a pretty bad picture of him, but pretty cool that, you know, these mods, again, I'll have them in the description box below, but you guys can download these mods. I'll put the link for those, but basically, from what I've seen, he has some unique units, which are pretty cool. Going to the south, we actually have a redesigned, I guess, the Night's Watch. No longer are they a civilization, which was kind of silly in the first place. They are instead a city-state, which makes a lot more sense, although I wouldn't really place them as a maritime city-state. And I actually had to rename it anyways, so if you actually click on it, it says Lotus Port, but, you know, I had to rename most of these city-states anyways. So the Night's Watch is basically downgraded into a city-state. Whether or not this keeps, you know, the wildling aggression north of the wall, we will see. And if you guys have not watched the previous episodes or know anything about Game of Thrones, this is gonna be very confusing for you. So I recommend that you guys either read the books or watch the TV shows. And I'm not gonna do too many spoilers, just because I know a lot of you maybe are only up into the TV show and haven't really read the books yet. So to the south, we've got Moletown. Again, I don't really think this is in the right spot, but Moletown, of course, is renowned as the city of prostitution that the Night's Watch like to kind of mosey on down to on occasion. Of course, it's strictly prohibited to lay with women in the Night's Watch, but you know, men are men. They got to get their you know, their fun somewhere. So southwest of there, we got Winterfell. Really cool. Their unique ability, if I remember correctly, it's also led by Robb Stark, by the way. Their unique ability, I believe, is capturing barbarian encampments and turning them into units, much like Germany in Civilization 5. They're pretty vanilla, in fact. So the north, again, is really big. A lot less tundra, I guess, in this rendition of the north, which is better, I guess, for Robb Stark. We will probably see a lot of expansion in this area. So going to the south, we have the twins, led by Walder Frey, of course. Again, when you actually click on the city-state, it's written something else. In this case, it's Harrenhal. But this is the twins, led by Walder Frey. I don't really know why it's considered a cultural city-state, because it's anything but. Anyways, going to the west, we've got Pike, of course, the Iron Islands, led by Balon Greyjoy, who more than likely, their unique ability actually allows them to cross over and embark their units immediately, which is really good. Kind of almost like the Maori of the Hawaii tribe, or rather Polynesia in regular Civilization 5. Going into the east, we got the Eyrie, the Vale, in fact, which is, in this iteration, led by Peter Baelish. So, of course, Peter is making fun of me. I am Daenerys Targaryen, but I don't have any dragons. In fact, I only have a nuclear submarine, which is, you know, again, only so that I can do a kind of a spectator match here for you guys today. So, again, Peter Baelish and the Vale. I don't really know what their unique ability is, and I don't even think I could find out at this point, but it has probably something to do with their location in the mountains, maybe some defensive bonuses. I would guess anyways. So, again, to the west, we've already talked about the Iron Islands, who are basically the pirates of this particular fantasy universe. We got the River Run led by the Tullys, led by Edmure Tully, I believe, who is also making fun of me. And I'm going to click on all of these kind of civilizations just to show you guys like what they look like. Maybe if you guys haven't seen the TV show and have only read the books. To the east, we got Harrenhal, of course, which used to be a very kind of a noble holding, but has been since delegated as kind of like this cursed area that nobody wants to go to. I believe the castle walls themselves were incinerated by dragonfire by the last Targaryen kind of invaders, and ever since then the place has been kind of like spooky and haunted or whatever. So we'll see if anybody takes that. Of course, it's still a big holding, that's why it's located on the map. To the west, we got Casterly Rock, which is more than likely led by Tywin Lannister. It is. As you guys can see, here's Tywin over here with his gold cloak guards. He leads the Westerlands, which are like this region that's very wealthy, lots of gold, lots of silver. If I'm going to do any predictions, I'm going to guess that they're going to be incredibly, industrious. They're probably going to settle all of this wine, gold, gems, silver, maybe even citrus territory over here. Again, Lannisters are well known as being the most wealthy of the great houses in Game of Thrones, or A Song of Ice and Fire, if you prefer that. And to the east, no longer do we have Joffrey, the spoiled king. We've got instead a city-state, King's Landing. The reason why I've done this is because, let's face it, nobody wants to see Joffrey win, especially me. I'd rather just kind of delegate King's Landing as this neutral area, and then this way, whoever really controls King's Landing is, in fact, I guess, the de facto ruler of the Seven Kingdoms. So I kind of made this in a way to just kind of give the AI a goal. So again, you don't win until you conquer everything. That is to say that this series will not end until one AI controls the entire map, or at least all of the original capitals. But King's Landing, for all intents and purposes, is one of the end goals of this game. So that being said, now it gets to the confusing part of the different families. In this case, we've got Stannis Baratheon. And why this is confusing is because we also have another Baratheon as well. And if you guys have seen my first episode of the Game of Thrones AI Deathmatch before it got corrupted, you can skip ahead 10 minutes, because I'm just going to go into backstory right now. For those of you who are not as familiar with this particular universe, Stannis of the Crownlands, of Dragonstone, is basically the heir apparent. He basically has the strongest claim to the throne in King's Landing. But of course, events, transpire that are more or less against him. Nobody really likes him, in fact. He's a very kind of a cold, calculating man. And there's definitely a gray eminence in this woman on the left. By gray eminence, I mean she's kind of like the puppet master. She kind of controls Stannis. And she is a red priestess that comes from the east, comes from Essos, which is, again, not pictured on this map. She comes from this gray void over here. Just pretend that there's a gigantic continent over there, which is also somewhat unoriginally named Essos. Of course, we have Westeros and Essos. The west and east paradigm are very obvious in the naming conventions here. But anyways, she is... she believes in, I believe his name is R'hllor, which is like this god of fire. And the vast majority of Westerosi populations do not believe in this god. This god is considered foreign. In fact, monotheism, that is to say, worshipping of one god, is a bit of a heresy. That is to say, it's completely forbidden in most of the Western kingdoms. So basically, she, with the support of her, monotheistic god of fire, is supporting Stannis in his bid to take the Iron Throne, which is in King's Landing. So I'll get into more of that later. Again, I'm sure most of you guys have already heard this anyways. So going to the south, we've got Storm's End, which is also under the same dynasty. That's to say that it's also led by the Baratheons, just like Dragonstone. But these guys are led by Renly, who doesn't have as strong of a claim to the Iron Throne. He is Stannis's, I believe, younger brother. I believe. I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I think he's the younger brother. He doesn't have as strong of a claim to the Iron Throne, but he is nice. He's just. In fact, he's almost too just with his people. He's what you consider to be a nice king. And of course, certainly circumstances within the book and the TV show transpire that more or less take advantage of this particular, goodwill. So going to the southwest, we've got Highgarden, which is ruled by Olenna of the Reach, or rather Olenna of the Reach, my bad. I believe these are the Tyrells, if memory serves. Again, it's been a while since I've done a Game of Thrones kind of series of Let's Plays, or even watched the TV show or read the book. So again, if my memory is fuzzy, please correct me in the comments below. Going to the southwest, we got Old Town, of course. This is kind of like the, more or less, the city of the Meisters being kind of like the various heads of, or rather, the various assistants to the various duchies or duchies, are the various kingdoms that are across Westeros. Basically, these guys, the Meisters, are basically like a combination of an old school mentor mixed with some medical knowledge and academical knowledge, or academia, not academical. They're basically like wizards without the magic. So their university and everything is here in Old Town. This is where they get their chains that they wear around their neck, if you guys have seen the TV show or have been attentive while reading the descriptions of the book. And speaking of descriptions of the book, George R.R. Martin is incredibly meticulous with the descriptions. Going to the east, we've got the Last Kingdom, the Kingdom of Dorne, which actually doesn't have anybody leading it. We don't have a picture of Dorne. But basically, what you guys need to know is that this particular kingdom is one of the most rarely talked about. Nobody really knows much about it. In fact, I don't either. I've read most of the books. Dorne is not mentioned very much. In fact, there's only like 1 or 2 events that happen in Dorne with the protagonists of the book. So really what this is it's kind of like a sand kingdom. I think it's pretty obvious that George R.R. Martin kind of got like some type of Middle Eastern / Arabic and Islamic influences when he wrote about the Kingdom of Dorne. I don't even know what their benefits are, but they're in a very good location, in fact. They have all of this kind of peninsula to expand relatively peacefully. And of course, if any of you guys have seen my other videos, if you start in a corner on the AI free-for-all deathmatch series, you're in a very, very good position. You're at an advantage, in fact, because if you're kind of like in River Run, or let's say in the area, you're kind of surrounded, in the north, the east, the west, and the south by potential rivals. So with that being said, and I know that was quite a bit, so again, we are going to begin the match right now. And again, I do apologize for the very large delay between this particular episode and the last one. And in fact, this is going to be on the same playlist as the last one. It's just going to have kind of like a sticker slapped across it that says that it's a remake, more or less. So again, let's go ahead and get started. By going and ending the turn. And again, I'm playing as Daenerys. The reason why I didn't include Daenerys or Khal Drogo of the Dothraki is because I didn't find a map that was, I guess, compact enough to fit both continents. And I really didn't want, to see, Westeros conquered by one house, and then them to have to, go halfway across the ocean to conquer the Eastern Kingdoms. We did this on the World AI Deathmatch series, and it was just, nobody was winning. Persia was the undisputed winner, but they were not able to really successfully invade other continents due to the fact that the Civilization AI is incredibly inept in terms of naval warfare. And I know a lot of you guys are kind of ragging on me for ragging on Civilization. It's not that I don't like Civilization. I love Civilization. It's really quite fun to play in multiplayer games. It's just that the AI is incredibly stupid. I mean, you could play this game on the highest difficulty, which I believe is Immortal or Deity, and you could just exploit the AI. I mean, because the AI is incredibly stupid. I mean, it's one of these games, and I'm not sure if I can speak for all Sid Meier's games when I say that the Civilization AI is exceptionally stupid, but I've played other Sid Meier's games like SimCity, for example, and kind of like Sim Golf, and there's like an entire brand of Sim, I guess, franchise games But of course they're older. So and this game is old too. I believe it was made in like 2010 or 2009. So I'm not ragging on it too much. I really like this game, but it's kind of fun to see how wonky the AI is and kind of like what they do. So enough of Sid Meier's and enough of kind of like the inept AI. Let's look a little bit at the map right now. Over here in Pike on the Iron Islands, we've got a great general, Robert Glover, which is pretty interesting. And most of the cultures are kind of meeting each other right now, it seems, especially in the south. Although nobody has really expanded yet. And in fact, speaking of expansion, I don't really think Dragonstone is going to expand very much very quickly. Of course, they have to research optics before they can go anywhere. And what's this? We see a unique unit led by Stannis Baratheon, the Red Fiery Hand. I'm guessing this is some type of like monotheistic fire god monk unit, which is very interesting. We will be kind of checking out each of the unique units, of course, as we get to them. So up here in the north, Winterfell looks like it's the highest population city in the game. Let's just go ahead and double check that really fast. Tied with Riverrun and almost tied with Storm's End. So, very interesting, if somewhat ahistorical to the book, or at least acanonical. Acanonical, can I say that? Like, against the canon of Game of Thrones in the Song of Ice and Fire? I don't know. Winterfell is not really a big city, but so far it's growing very rapidly. Another thing I want to mention about this particular remake is that I am using an immersion mod, which means that the eras are going to be a bit different. If you guys remember from the previous Let's Play series, I had it kind of locked into the medieval era, which means that, you won't get, like, for example, musketmen or riflemen, which is totally good. I mean, you don't want to have these things in a Song of Ice and Fire's universe. So, what we have instead, and I'm going to go and pull up IGE really fast, is a very interesting thing that is called the Dawn Age, the Age of Heroes, the Age of Valyria, and the Seven Kingdoms Age. And I believe that once you get to the Seven Kingdoms Age, you can't progress into the Industrial Era. You might be able to, which is a bit, a bit shitty, but I thought that nonetheless it was pretty cool. I'm not sure how different, in fact, that these ages are to the standard, antique, classical, Renaissance, so on and so forth eras, but I'm sure that they're probably at least a little bit different and not just named differently. So, again, somewhat unsurprisingly, Sunspear is very small, as is Highgarden. And I'm guessing the reason that Riverrun and Winterhold, or rather Winterfell, are so big are because, for one, Robb Stark has a monopoly on the ancient ruins of the north, which means that he has a high chance of being able to get settler bonuses of one citizen each time he gets into one of those particular ruins. So far, again, nothing too spectacularly interesting is going on as of yet. Again, I have locked the victory win condition as domination only, which means that the time, the time victory, cultural victory, diplomatic victory, all that is gone, which is good. Which means that we're only going to be focusing on combat here, which is fantastic. So, the first city has been founded, or rather the second city. I believe we got In the same term, we got a Lannister city, the city of Ashmark to the east, which has some citrus and some wine, and of course, the Lannisters are notoriously hedonistic, which means they love to kind of drink, especially with the midget Tyrion, who's one of my favorite characters. So the southeast of Thin, we've got the city of Fist of the First Men, which is the second wildling city, very interesting. And of course, it remains to be seen whether or not the wildlings will be able to kind of drill their way past south of Castle Black. Of course, they could, if they would rather, they could pass through this area over here to the west of the wall, which in this reiteration, much like the last episode that I did of this series, is mainly just a mountain because we don't have, any ice walls, unfortunately. But again, they can kind of sneak past, as they did in the actual show, by going to the west of the mountain and kind of taking a boat over that way, or even just going across the mountain, They might actually have a unique ability of climbing the mountain, since that, they're able to do that, at least lore-wise, in the TV show. So going back down into kind of the heart of Westeros, we see that Peter Baelish has a settler, although the area itself, the Vale, is very underfed and underdeveloped. It looks like his settler is going to go south of the Twins and north of Harrenhal. And it did. He founded the city of Goldtown near several units of spice and cotton, with stone nearby. Very interesting. Of course, River Run, if they don't colonize soon, are going to be in a rather precarious spot. And Pike itself is also expanding as well. Very interesting. Going to the south, we see that Renly is sending out another settler as well, heading probably towards King's Landing. Of course, the Reach, or rather the Storm, is it the Reach? Hold on. Stormlands, that's the name of the area, is rather big. So they got a lot of room. It looks like the, shit, is this the Tullys? Hold on one second. No, these are the Tullys. These are the Tyrells. Yep, right, the Tyrells. See, I'm going to remember these names. So the Tyrells from Highgarden look like they're going to be expanding soon, as are the Dornish from Sunspear. So a lot of expansion going on right now. And not a lot of territory either. This map is understandably quite a bit smaller than the previous map from the previous episode. So we should see some interesting developments, as there are quite a bit less in terms of expansion opportunities, at least naturally speaking. And speaking of expansion, the Lannisters must be pooping out gold because they've bought another settler, which is going to compete with, obviously, the Tullys, and even Peter Baelish, the east, and potentially even Renly in the east as well. So Highgarden has yet to set their settler. The Dorns have set up their the second city of Lemonwood, which I've never even heard mentioned in the TV show. Very interesting. Again, I've only seen, or rather read, the first 3 books up until Clash of Kings. Or maybe there's one after that, actually, that I've completely forgotten about. But anyways, in the north, we see a lot more settlers, a lot more expansion, quite honestly, than I expected in this first episode, but that's a very good thing. Of course, Pike and the Iron Islands, they don't really know what to do with their settler. They're kind of keeping it on standby. And we, of course, see that the Lannisters don't really know what they're doing with their settler either. Looks like they might be setting up a city in the mountains to the south of River Run. Dragonstone, again, very irrelevant until they get optics, unfortunately for them. Maybe I should have put them on the peninsula, but then that would have, kind of negated the island, I guess, aesthetic of their civilization. So, Renly, of course, with lots and lots of settlers. We'll see if he, of course, settles any locations. We've got about 5 more minutes left on this particular series, or rather episode, I should say. The series is definitely not over. And, again, I do apologize for the long hiatus between my videos. If I can't promise a video per day, I will promise a video every other day for the foreseeable future. Of course, I still have another series with Civilization, the True Start Carthage series, which is also not on hiatus. It's now being produced as well, now that I'm done with my, I guess, temporary vacation over in Amsterdam and Belgium. I finally have the ability to start making these videos. But again, due to the fact that my internet speed is so incredibly slow, I can only upload 1 a day at maximum, which is very unfortunate. I really wish I could upload more. But my visa in France is only valid for another 4 months anyways, so once I return back to America, I should be able to pump these out a little bit more frequently. Enough of that. In the north, we've got another city, the 3rd city of Hardhome. A lot of expansion is going off here north of the wall. But in terms of, I guess, expansion opportunities, unfortunately, Mance has mostly taken all of the available tundra, and I don't really see him settling too much in the snow areas of the west in the land of always winter. To the south, we've got Bear Island, very inappropriately named, to the east of Winterfell, very squarely in the north and not on an island. And I believe this is kind of the location of the Dreadfort, which is also an interesting thing. So over here in the Eyrie, in the Vale, Goldtown, of course, expanding. It looks like Peter Baelish is focusing on culture. Excuse me. And very interestingly, the Tullys have decided to settle their second city, the city of Raventree Hall, kind of halfway across Westeros, next to Highgarden. We'll see if that pays off for them. Usually when the AI does something stupid like this, it's a very bad idea, as it kind of splits up their kingdom and allows a very easy military conquest later on for the other particular factions. So we also see that the Dornish have mounted bowmen, which I believe are a unique unit for them. If I'm not mistaken, it seems like the Dorn in this particular immersion mod might be similar, in fact, to the Mongolians, as they are mounted warriors as well. Over here, it looks like Highgarden has set up their second city, the Arbor. Of course, Highgarden itself is very malnourished. Malnourished, can I say that? Yeah, I'm going to say that. So, not a lot of growth going on there, but we do see another settler. In fact, in the first episode of this particular series, we might see most of Westeros already colonized, as we see over here at Storm's End as well. So Renly has set up a second city of Haystack Hall to the northwest of Storm's End and to the immediate south of King's Landing. Very interesting development. Let's go now up to the north, where we see that... one second. Where we see that Robb Stark has another settler, and he's also trading with Molestown with their prostitutes. Robb definitely needs some prostitutes for his men if he is going to be king of the north. He needs to make sure that all of his men are in good morale. Down here we have the Crag, which is, I believe, the third Lannister city or the fourth Lannister city. The third Lannister city, which is directly to the southwest of the Twins. Of course, Walder Frey was historically, I guess, friends, or at least collaborative with the Lannisters, not to say the Red Wedding, which I won't talk about if you don't know what that is. But if you do know what it is, of course, you know that the Lannisters are totally, or rather the Walder Freys are totally within the pocket of the Lannisters. Over here, the second city of the Iron Islands, Lord Sport, has been made. Which is at a good spot, of course, because the Iron Islands have, again, in the book and in the movie, kind of raided the northern coast. So, again, I guess this is kind of maybe like a northern city that was captured by them in terms of lore, and not in terms of what we just saw with their settler. Looks like Robb Stark has access to dire wolves, which is really, really cool. As you guys can see, they have their own unique... I guess, graphics on the map. And I'm very interested in seeing these dire wolves in action once wars are declared here. So I'm going to go and end the turn, and the next turn will be the last turn before I end this particular episode. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed. We don't have any wars as of yet, but rest assured, in the second episode, I everything but guarantee that there will be war. I mean, there is so many cities already placed and splattered across this map that there really are no natural expansion spots outside of the north. So we're going to see a lot of, I guess, fighting as competition for the scarce resources sort of piles up. So again, guys, I hope you really enjoyed this episode. It looks like so far, in terms of score anyways, the Lannisters are in the lead with a very, very... Oh, no, sorry, I misspoke. Robb is in the lead of the north with very, very kind of close... follow-up with Tywin Lannister, Edward Tully, and Mance Rayder. So I'm guessing the reason why the North has so many points is because Winterfell is massive, which is really strange. Again, I don't know why, but these dire wolf packs are in almost every direction now. It'll be very interesting to see what happens in the next episode. So again, guys, I hope you enjoyed episode 1 of the remade series, and stay tuned for episode 2. Take care, guys.